Okay, okay, okay. Just another one, just paper 601. Maybe another two people. Yes, can we start?
Yes, sir. We'll start. Good evening, participants. ACM Chennai chapter, IEEE CS Madras chapter, and CSI Chennai chapter cordially invite you to a webinar on driving innovation for the new normal world by Ms. K. Rajashree Rao, Head AI Innovation, Urban Partnerships and Ecosystems, Asia Pacific Region, R2 Data Labs, Rolls-Royce, Bangalore, India. Innovation is the cornerstone of sustained economic growth and prosperity. We all know that. Driving innovation in the radical times, where the entire model of doing innovation has to be rethought. Who is an innovator? What kind of mindset should we, as an individual and an organization at large, champion? Why should every individual wear the hat of an innovator in today's era? Why should the leaders encourage an innovative culture within their organization? The speaker will talk on these aspects. Rajashree, also known as Shree, is a globally acclaimed industry thought leader, visionary, advisor, principal consultant, and mentor in next-gen technologies with 20 years in the corporate across the regions India, US, and Asia Pacific. She brings with her the diverse industry experience of working with IBM, Intel, and SAP, leading and influencing the technology adoption within the Singapore government and public sector for building the smart city and smart nation initiative in the Asia Pacific region. She has been recognized by Thinkers 360 as one of the top 20/50 global thought leaders and influencers in artificial intelligence, blockchain, cloud, 5G, AR, VR, and Internet of Things. She also has been recognized as one of the top 100 women B2B global thought leaders to follow in 2020. She has established strong partnerships across industry players, academia, corporates, governments, industry bodies, incubators, accelerators, venture capitalists for identifying best of the best ecosystem partners to solve the business pain points which can be scalable for various industry segments. Focus is to optimize, vitalize, and augment our existing cutting-edge technology capabilities to innovate with the diverse ecosystem initiatives of co-creation, co-innovation, and engagement models for efficiently addressing the problems innovation model, which is based on the open innovation framework to drive the innovation within R2 data labs. She is a honors graduate from Bangalore University in business management as a diploma in computer science e-commerce. She enjoys international travel, cooking. She is also passionate about women's empowerment and spends her free time working with women and women's organizations. Over to Ms. Rajashree. Thank you.
Thank you for this wonderful introduction. Oh my God, it's a lot. Really appreciate for giving me this opportunity to be able to share my thought leadership with this entire team and the entire community, across the Chennai chapters. Mohan sir, really thank you so much. Subramaniam and others, the entire team, thank you again for this wonderful opportunity, and to the audience, looking forward to an exciting exchange of knowledge, and feel free to ask the questions that you want to. With that, I will kickstart. In the introduction, I gave an abstract as to why we need to innovate, why we need to be an innovator, and most importantly, how do you drive innovation for the new normal? So with that, first is, what is innovation and why almost everyone defines it wrong? I'll begin with that. See, the very simple example or a basic meaning of innovation is, innovation means the application of novel ideas and useful concepts to innovate technology, product, or solution, which will transform and disrupt the world for the good of humankind. So this is, to me, an innovation. But what does innovation mean? If you today take, whether it is individual, organization, or society at large or globally, everybody believes you get an idea and then you come up with a technology or a product or a service or a solution, whatever that might be, that becomes an innovation. This is according to what I've been experiencing in real time within the industry itself. And to me, that's a little challenging, and I find it quite surprising too. I'll take an example of a startup. Now, you come up with an idea that's going to disrupt a certain segment, a market segment, or it is going to address a particular business problem, or forget about even that, right? You're actually providing a solution to enhance a challenge or a process or anything that could be, which is going to better your productivity, and then you're going to be able to break that obsolete system. But what happens is, if you take innovation in that perspective, we are trying to only make things efficient, but are we really trying to make things efficient? This is the question we must ask. So what is innovation? In my perspective, innovation means that which you give to the world beyond what you can imagine as well, which has to be beyond your lifespan. The innovation what you bring today is going to disrupt the world, or it's going to better the world for the good of everybody. So innovation is not just trying to say I have an idea and that is innovation. So the word innovation itself is most abused, and that is why I keep saying the word innovation is, when it's defined by people, to everybody the meaning is very different. And for me, I'll take the classic example which I really love quoting. I in Singapore, I happened to visit the Science Art and Science Museum, and once I experienced and very beautiful curation of Leonardo da Vinci. And if you have ever visited any of his the research journey, the inventions that he has done, it is phenomenal. And at that time, when I was going through the different inventions he has done, it was mind boggling to me. You know what? That man had developed almost 10,000 inventions with a prototype. He was not an expert only in that field. He was a mathematician, he was a scientist, he was an artist, he was a painter, he was a sculptor, you name it. It was incredible. But that is innovation. This man has been able to give world the concepts which really people developed it much later, but he came up with even the prototype of how that particular model or invention looked like. To me, that is mind-boggling. I was amazed to learn what kind of innovations has he come up with. I mean, an invention, example, the aeroplane, a bridge, which is going to support certain heavy certain environmental taking into considerations with the environmental factors, especially in the European region or the cold regions. So it was very, very interesting, the kind of inventions he came up with. And for all your surprise, the way he had written it is in the mirror image, which means you have to stand in front of the mirror, and it's written in the reverse direction, and then only then will you be able to read it. Can you believe that? And he had literally handwritten. I was very glad that I was able to see the transcript, the manuscript of what he had come up with. So to me, this is innovation. And the most important is, today we need to understand the fundamental meaning of innovation. Next, who is an innovator? That's the next question I will always ask people, right? What are you? Who is an innovator? An innovator is a visionary who thinks beyond his lifespan and gives the world which no one could have ever imagined. That's why I already started with Leonardo da Vinci. He focuses, most important, on quality and never on the quantity. And also, very important, innovation doesn't translate I'm going to make money as well, or I have a monetary benefit associated with that. So the mindset of an innovator, you need to understand who is an innovator and why is he innovating. And this is why I keep championing, even within my organization or wherever I go and work with people, that you need to wear the hat of an innovator. You need to be able to think beyond your own lifespan. Don't think 2 years from now or 5 years from now. Please think, how can I influence 50 years from now or 100 years from now? Whatever that I am building, whatever that I am doing, it has to be scalable. It has to benefit everyone. It has to be inclusive. You cannot just build something that is only going to be made use for a certain period in time and then it's going to be obsolete. You can't do that. So being a visionary is very important, and you need to have a 360-degree view to whatever you're doing. You cannot work in a siloed environment, and that's a big challenge that I've seen across organizations wherever I have worked, even at the customer locations. I can quote n number of examples, but I'll tell you who has really been an innovator in our world. Today, if you look at, we are not innovating anything, whether it's technology, solution, product, it's already been existing. You go back and if you go to the history, you realize that the technology has been existing. We are only enhancing over over a period of time, and the progress is happening at a speed now which was not happening before. That is all it is. I'll give a very classic example, which is Steve Jobs. Now, Steve Jobs gave us and the world this smartphone, and if not for him, today our this conference, the platforms, and the apps itself wouldn't have been existing. So he was a visionary who gave the world. He disrupted how we would communicate. He shortened the distance. Today I can sit here and have a video call with anyone. I can have a WhatsApp call. Those facilities were not there, and thanks to smartphone. And from there, what happened? Then a lot of people took the same blueprint or the concept and came up with phones that was made easily affordable by different class of the people. So what does it mean? That it also became an inclusive. That's what I keep telling. Innovation has to be inclusive. You cannot only innovate for a certain segment of the market or certain segment of this world. That is not innovation all about. And most important, like I said, you can't focus on quantity, or you have to do a mass production. I need to go and target this market. I have to capture this market. I have to monetize it. That is not an innovator. He cannot think like that. His thought is going to be, what is that I'm going to give the world which is going to benefit everybody? So the underlying substratum of innovation is you need to ensure that it is going to benefit the humankind in every which way. And please, let me assure you, whatever you have to earn, the money will follow you. Success will follow. Apple become a greatest company on planet Earth. And today, they are $1 billion. They're $1 billion, and they become $1 trillion organization. That's what it is all about. So if you take Da Vinci and Steve Jobs, these people are all innovator. And who is the one who's innovating in the present times? I love to quote this example of Elon Musk. And you take the different things he's been doing. And one example that I would love to quote is, how today one of his company called Spacelift has been able to send, they have been approved by the US government to send satellites, and make sure that they will be able to give you internet from the internet from the space. And that is the kind of innovations they have come up with. It's phenomenal. I think he's already sent about 4,200 satellites, if I'm right. And they have many, they have sanctioned many more to go. So he's already finished a phase 1 test. And what they have done, they have used their developer to do a live streaming. And they've also done how gaming can be done and what's the kind of speed that today it can give. What does this mean to us? Which means today, every not just urban dwellers, but every village in our country will have a high-speed internet connection. The speed will be better and better. So there is nobody today who can say that I don't have access to internet. So that's the era we are already evolving in. So the world is being disrupted. And take the example of 5G. Of course, we are going to enter the era, but today if you take India, we are not there in 5G yet. We're still anywhere between 3.5 and it's 4G LTE. That is where we are. But China has tested. Of course, US, certain segments of US has been tested. They've already, made the infrastructure ready. Take even Korea or Japan. They've already ready with their infrastructure for 5G. So that's another area, how things are going to transform. And today, if you look at it, earlier we used to do the streaming. If you're streaming movie, it would take ages. And with the way how Elon Musk has seen, how he has envisioned, I think it'll take just a minute to download, the 8K or a 4K movie. That's the power we have today. That is what we are heading. But let me tell you, every innovation definitely has certain challenges. In the sense, everything, whether it's new technology, whatever that might be, everything has an element of challenges, because there are always gaps and there are certain loopholes which needs to be addressed. And similarly, even with this particular model, what Elon Musk is doing, there is an element of challenge, but they are addressing how to work it out. And if you take the example, Samsung and in Korea, one of the companies have come up with already the 6G. So they are already preparing the wave for getting into 6G. So forget even 5G. We are entering into an era of 6G. So this is how the innovation is happening, where they're expediting. And in that, they have called out, it's a fantastic paper. I've actually written an article about that as well. And what are the challenges? And they're saying how they will be able to overcome that particular challenge which they are facing. So this is what you need to do. And you need to be valued to any organization. And if you don't wear the innovator's hat in every job that you do, then you become redundant because you're not being creative. And that is the reason why today everybody's talking about how automation is taking over jobs, why today people believe, people are evolving and the technology advancements in artificial intelligence is skyrocketing. I would say it's not skyrocketing, but what I would say is that, yes, there's been tremendous amount of technology advancement that has taken place with AI. There are different things that's going on. Yeah, people are afraid whether artificial intelligence will take over the job. Of course not. I always believe human intelligence is far superior than AI. So your intelligence has to be used for coming up with something fantastic, for disrupting, in and giving this world, which is very important. Example, today, the world is going through a tough phase. Can you advance in research in coming up with the best vaccine that, and ensure that the world is prepared to handle any kind of calamities in the future? So pandemic itself is an example for us, how it has disrupted, and today how we need to be prepared. Tomorrow in kinds of any such calamities or such many kind of anything that can come about, we need to have an infrastructure, we need to have the mindset to be able to all manage. So that is what we need to look. This pandemic has paved way for us to look into the direction and see what we have to do. So you today, whatever field you are, so you need to think through from that perspective. So I hope you got the point why I'm emphasizing why and what it takes to be an innovator. So then I'm going to touch upon the different types of innovation. And this is the model which every organization follows. And they will fall in one of these quadrants. So let me start with what is incremental innovation. Now, incremental innovation is where, I develop a product, technology, or a solution. I'm going to be continuously enhancing the product, and whatever the challenges or some fixes are there, I keep addressing those gaps and making it better and better. And we take feedback, right? There's an end user, we always ask for feedback, and then we update that and make sure that the product is the product is satisfying the customer needs. So that's incremental innovation, something which every organization across domains are doing it. Now let me go to what is radical innovation. Radical innovation means it's an inside out. What does inside out mean? Today, if you take companies like GE or many other organizations, they have an innovation hub, and that's a very much inside out, which means I'm going to come up with a product, technology, or solution which will disrupt the world. I'm going to give something to the world which the world has never experienced before. So that is an inside out. Yes, it's a capex heavy model, but I know there are some of the top organizations, corporates, and others as well, who will journey this model because they have an innovation hub where they want to invest into coming up with something new continuously. So that's radical innovation. I'll first touch upon disruptive innovation, and then I will go to sustaining innovation. What is disruptive innovation? Disruptive innovation means it's outside in, which I'll first give an example. Uber was the biggest example of disruptive innovation. When Uber kickstarted, they disrupted the world, how the model of cab cab sharing worked. So it is a phenomenal concept. Nobody ever thought, and that is disrupting the whole way of how you look at and competitor in the taxi model. And those are very interesting concept. And the next one I would say is in the hotel industry was Airbnb. Again, they disrupted. It's for the hotels. It's not the normal. Like example, other hotels who were competing in the space, they were not the competition, but somebody whom they least expected came up with a model and disrupted the whole hotel industry. So that's a disruptive innovation. And today I'll tell you what, if you take any organization, whether it's my organization or any other corporates, early on, we used to always think that somebody who's in the same business are our competitors. But today, you don't know who is your competitor. You need to be ready. You need to be prepared to have different business models so that you're not going to go through this disruption. And most importantly, always adapt and leverage what is happening outside. And you can't just say, this is my way, this is how I'm going to work through my business. Yes, you're very good in your bread and butter, whatever your business is, that the basic business or whatever you're known for. Of course you need to focus, but you have to keep innovating. And if you stop innovating, then there is a problem. And I'll tell you example today with Boeing, Airbus. These are some of the companies who have been innovating. An example would be Airbus started their own biz lab. And what are they doing? They actually developed a concept where they bought the startups. They become, Airbus is the wholly owned subsidiary of, Airbus Biz Lab is the wholly owned subsidiary of Airbus. So they started this concept about an accelerator model. So they brought in different startups, they nurtured them, and they would use the startups. One is to address all the business problems, which is in-house, their own business functions, and they would do co-creation and co-innovation. And then since this model, they could also leverage working with the external partners, and they made it commercial, which means it's a business model overall. So that's the way they disrupted, which is a very interesting way of innovating. And then what is sustaining innovation? Sustaining innovation means it's a mix. It's a 50%. So I do inside out and I also do outside in, which means I'm balancing. I want to be with both and I want to use the best of both the worlds. And this takes a lot of effort. And please know that each one of us, represent our organization. And if we do not adapt this thought process, if we do not have this creative act, wearing the hat of an innovator all the time, we are not going to do value to our job. And I'll tell you a very interesting thing. Recently I gave a talk on HR applications. What are the the technology applications of AI within HR function. Now, what did I talk about over there? See, there's no job which is going to get automated, which needs a creative brain. Everything that's happening, the automation is happening where all the mundane tasks can be automated, so that the human intelligence can be used for creating and doing something fantastic, something that is spectacular in this world. So that is what the whole organization are also evolving towards. So they're pushing everybody to think creatively and outside the box, and not be following a very traditional way of working today in the organization. And let me tell you, in the last 8 months, due to the pandemic, everybody has evolving in the implementation of digital transformation, which was not happening earlier. Yes, everybody would say that, yes, we are evolving, we're going to adapt digital, we're going to digitize. The digital transformation implementation is happening, but it was not happening at the speed it had to. But today, if you take the global business services functions within every organizations have adapted, and they're also implementing the digital transformation. What are they doing? They're automating the processes. They are trying to see how they can eliminate certain process which is redundant and also make it efficient. So why do you do innovate? What are the three important factor that, or the objective or the goal for innovation? One is to improve productivity or efficiency. Second is to reduce cost, and the third thing is to bring impact and value to the business. So if you're not doing any of these three, then you're not doing innovation. The purpose is these three things. You go and review any organization. At the end of the day, they will only have these three goals in mind, behind why they have to innovate or why they have to go towards digital transformation, why digitization is a must today. And this is a very important element on how the future of work, the culture, everything is going to transform. And today, let me tell you, the future of work itself is a big innovation. Everybody's trying to say we need to have a hybrid model. And I'm actually, as we speak, I'm in the process of building a strategy which is going to form the hybrid model, which is not existing today in the world. I've done the research. Nobody has developed this or implemented. Everybody's trying to do an aspect of, having the hybrid model of working. So I'll tell you, if today, we are moving from having physical offices to virtually working, and on all kinds of jobs. Now, why do we then, the question every organization is thinking is, why do we need so much physical space? Why should people, take the time to travel to work and get exhausted? Today, I can sit at my home and still be efficient and productive. Of course, we need the face time. So can we have a hybrid model, which means I might go to work once in a week or twice in a week when I really need to be there to get my things done. But besides that, can I operate virtually from anywhere? That is what we are evolving into. Fujitsu has announced 100% work from home or work from anywhere. Same as Siemens, they also said you can work from anywhere. Likewise, Microsoft came up with a very interesting concept in US. They said you can work from anywhere across the US. You're not bound by any geography or location anymore. But what they said is you might not get certain perks like travel allowance and few other perks we are not going to give you, because we are giving you the convenience of working from anywhere you want. Today, this is what is disrupting the future of work. And I'll tell you, one of the very interesting things that I was talking about is I'm in the process of developing an innovation hub, and we're talking about a hybrid model for this innovation hub. So what is that I'm talking about? Today, I should be able to have the center of excellence right sitting in my desk. I should be able to have the 3D effect, or virtually be able to connect it to the experience which I will get in the physical environment. So what does it take to develop something like that? What kind of infrastructure you need? What kind of technology you need? So this is the things we are looking at and seeing how we need to innovate, coming up with this. And not just innovate means, yes, you have the idea, you have the thought process, but the most important element to this is how do you make it happen in real time? And that is where we need to leverage the different aspects of innovation to co-create and co-innovate. And that is where we leverage the best of everything that is available today in the industry. So the next is, sorry, I already touched upon this, but I'm coming to this point now. How do we innovate? And that's an interesting question that I always ask the organizations and people around, where even in the partner organization, what is the kind of model that they have been following, and what is the model that they need to follow? And I champion one thing, which is in innovation, is open innovation framework. Today, I cannot just say that I want to develop everything from scratch within my organization. No, it doesn't work, and it defeats the purpose of innovation. Innovation has to be based on open innovation framework. And in my job, last year when I was heading the partnerships and ecosystem, what I developed, the first thing is the partnership innovation model, which means I can partner with anybody across the industry, all the industry players. I can partner with them and do the co-innovation and co-creation. It becomes the most easiest thing. Why? Because I can leverage everything that is there, the best of the best. And today I can work with any partners. I can work with academia, I can work with the industry bodies, I can work with the corporates, I can work with the system integrators, I can work with the government, VCs, incubators, accelerators, you name. So I can collaborate with everybody and form a partnership and work that and come up with solutions, technology, services, whatever that we want together, and at a speed that you can't even imagine. What will take me a year or 6 months, I can just get it done in 2 or 3 months. That is the advancement in technology we have evolved in. But if you do not collaborate, if you don't partner, you're going to lose out. I'll tell you why. There are many startups. You take the deep tech startup. India is a hub, the next innovation hub in the world. Let me tell you this much. Today is the opportunity for many organizations to look at India as a destination for innovation. And I'm saying this, Google, I'm not sure if you know, Google recently announced that they're going to invest $10 billion, and they're going to move some of the innovations over here. Likewise, many other organizations. So people have got stakes in Reliance, like Facebook has got stake in Reliance. So they're collaborating. So today we have broken the boundaries. I'll tell you what is a very interesting thing here, which is I have the creme de la creme talent, and India is a hub. Talent, it's a hub for talent, and it's no more that we are going to only find all the best of the students moving abroad and trying to do something there. I'll tell you, 10 years I've lived in Singapore. I chose to come back to India because I want to give back to India. I realize it's a next growth market. And if I'm not here at the right time, then I'm going to lose out. But let me tell you, it's not about living in a country where everything is fine, everything is picture perfect. You have to innovate where nothing is working. And that is where you'll be able to value add. This is a very important lesson. I'll tell you, the concept of hybrid model also means today I can get any talent I want who's sitting right across the globe. Earlier, we felt that the skills have to be based where the customer location is based out of. But today, no, we don't have to. In the new normal, which is the virtual reality, I can be based anywhere. I can still tap into the talent. So that is what the journey of the new era of innovation that we are doing. So I mean, as one of the things I was building is, okay, I might have the best skill, say data scientist, somebody who's an expert in that subject is based out in UK. So do I need to bring him to India because there's a customer opportunity? Not really. Maybe he might have to visit once or twice in physically be present for a face-to-face if need be. But otherwise, can we do this everything virtually? So that is what every organization today are evaluating. And this is an opportunity to make this happen, which means, I'll tell you one advancement that where this model fits very well is in the telemedicine space within the healthcare. What has happened? I know some of the doctors, one of my family doctor who is a great specialist somewhere, he lives in US, and someone was undergoing a particular challenge, health issue, and they needed the specialist to be there. But unfortunately, he was out of country. So today with the technology, especially AI has advanced heavily into healthcare. He was able to operate through the telemedicine concept. This is fantastic. And today robotics is playing a huge role in this space. Our healthcare technology within the healthcare technology are advancing. Today, everything is monitored at a cloud level. So I can just sit with in an app. I can do virtual consultations, and pandemic has made it even more possible today. And this is how the developments have advanced. There is a paradigm shift happening within every industry vertical, whether it is manufacturing, healthcare, you name it. It's phenomenal. Everything is going through the transformation today. So this is the opportunity, and you have to seize the opportunity and make the best use of it. So always think about how can I leverage and work together. There is no more competition. You should be even able to work with your competitor and come up with some solution or technology that can disrupt and to the world, and you can do a joint go to market in the space that you're not competing with each other. And that's the way forward. So why reconstructing and restructuring model of innovation? See, most important, every single time when I'm sitting through and talking to the folks, whether within the organization, different functions, to understand what is their one very important thing that I always do is first understand what is their existing system, what are the different technology that they have, what is that they have implemented, what are the challenges. See, the challenge today itself is, which I'm personally as well facing in the work, is people don't understand what is a challenge or what is a problem. The ability to define a problem or a challenge itself is a big challenge. And today, if you go to any industry, the first thing they'll say, we need to do a design thinking workshop. So this has become the fad word, design thinking. I don't understand why you need a design thinking. Very simply this, because people don't understand what is a problem. What is a problem in real time, or what is a challenge? And when you understand that, then you'll realize there is something that you need to first take into account is your existing infrastructure. You cannot go to a company and say whatever you have in existing infrastructure or technology solution is useless. You take mine and go and implement it. It's never going to happen. Nobody is going to buy from you. Let me tell you this much. So what are they looking at? It's retrofitting. And that is why I tell you, you don't have to remove everything. Can we retrofit? Retrofit is basically that we need to assess what is the existing infrastructure and see what can be used from that legacy system. You cannot remove the legacy system and throw away. And this is, I'll give you a classic example. When I was working with this Land Transport Authority of Singapore, what happened was, see, everybody wants to sell something to the customer. At the end of the day, everybody wants to say, I want to make my money, I want to sell. So more they sell, they achieve their numbers. But it's not about number game here. So we were assessing an infrastructure requirement for the Land Transport Authority, and what we were trying to say is, okay, today the customer base is, say, at 10%. Tomorrow it will increase to 20% or 30%, but the existing infrastructure does not have the capacity to do the, accommodate that 20% growth. So what do we do? So different technology company came and proposed different things, but what they haven't looked into is, where are they, what is the gap, and how do we retrofit it? So do we need to change the whole infrastructure, or can we only change an aspect of it which requires that scalability? That is the hands-on work today people are not doing. So they're not going and evaluating. They just want to say, okay, remove this, with, if you implement this, then there'll be all these things you can do. We're always in the process of selling. And most important, you need to understand, in the world of digital transformation today, your customer is not interested in what product you have or what you're trying to sell. They are interested in one very important aspect, that is called customer experience. So if you don't give anything that is going to make them feel good, they're not going to buy anything. They'll say, gone are the days when people would come and sell. And in fact, IBM did a survey with all their C-level clients, and one thing that they came back was, the feedback was that, today you don't come and tell me why your product or technology is better. Tell me what is that I have in it, what kind of customer experience can you give me? So that today it's shifted from saying my product is good. We are always trying to show an USP, right? Unique selling proposition. What is the value that I bring with my product? To what kind of experience are you going to have? That is what we have evolved. So retrofitting is a must. So when you go with a concept and model, I'm telling you, this has happened to me in real time. The way I was able to win this particular account is, I saw that, okay, you have the server, which is IBM server. Now, what you need to is the upgrade. Why? Because the scalability is very important. With this server, you're not able to scale. Now, can we change and enhance this? Does IBM have a product? So the server team, the storage team came and they did an evaluation. After that, they found, of course, they have a capability to enhance that. So retrofitting is very important. So they don't have to change the whole system. And which won the deal for the for the client. And the client was extremely happy. The customers were happy. Then both were able to come to the terms, which means I have a loyal customer with me. So this is how you need to look at, when you're evaluating any existing legacy system. The next important aspect is interoperability. Being interoperable is extremely important. And if your technology and solution is not interoperable, then there is a huge gap. There's a huge problem. And I will tell you, I have experienced, again, within my own many different projects that I've worked. I'll tell you the classic example is with the smart cities, the smart nation initiatives with Singapore government. It was a time in 2014 when this whole initiative kicked off, and 2015 and 2016 became the fad word was IoT. Everybody manufactured gateways, and they said, okay, here is my gateway. You can get this Raspberry Pi. You name different gateways people came up with. And then one big bottleneck happened. Nobody thought through that they need to standardize the protocols. And that led to some of these initiatives not going forward. So everybody tried to create, saying, okay, we'll do a POC, we'll try to see what works. They formed a skeleton, they came up with the building blocks, but nothing worked. Why? Because the approach itself was tops down. It is not bottoms up. So you need to understand interoperable of any technology is extremely important. And today, the Smart Nation initiative is still not successful because you're not taken into account some of these fundamental factors, which is key in every transformation. Then you should always think about how good is my solution, which it accommodates for scalability. So anything that you develop, like I said, the visionary is always going to think beyond this lifespan. So you have to think, okay, I need to ensure that it can scale beyond 50 years. So what does it take? So scalability is a very important element as well. Even while I'm working on some of this solution, we are trying to co-innovate. In that, one thing that I tell my partner is that, look, whatever we are developing, it needs to scalable. It has to be scalable. And if it is not scalable, then there is no value to whatever we are building. So there can't be that limitation saying, okay, it will only work in certain area. It can only scale up to 2 years. No, it doesn't work. And if it is able to solve my business problem and it is scalable, then I know I can address a problem at industry at large, and it has to be scalable as well. So I have a market which I never thought existed. So this is how you create value. And more, I've already touched upon inclusive. Anything that you innovate has to be inclusive. Today, if you take smartphone as an example, it is inclusive. Everybody, and I get very amazed when I travel in some of the remote places in India. People might not have food to eat, but they definitely have a smartphone, and that inspires me. So technology, the smartphone has become very inclusive in our world. We can't live without our smartphones. So I will now go and touch upon some of these areas on what is the future of innovation. An interesting synopsis that I will give you in three different areas, right? One is I'll talk about smart cities, Singapore versus India, because I've worked my experiences, I've worked for a long time within the Smart Cities initiative within the Singapore government and public sector. I'll tell you why Singapore has been able to be ahead in the game. Yeah, we can't compare Singapore and India in direct terms. I'm only going to talk about the mindset and how we need to look at developing this even within our government. Singapore, though it's very small, the planning that they did was they first addressed the infrastructure issues that existed in the country. See, nobody came there without having gone through the journey. They also had certain system that was not good. They have their own challenges. See, the grass is always greener on the other side. So I'm not saying that Singapore is all a perfect place or India is always a imperfect place. It's not that. So let us always take the best of what has worked in every country or every region or with everyone, right? We have to always take the good out of everybody. Now, if you take Singapore itself, the lessons learned that I have is one is they focused heavily on infrastructure. The first thing that they came up is how do we build the infrastructure that is going to support the vision and the growth that they are envisioning. But infrastructure, not just the government invested, they also opened up for people to come and invest in the country, which means they formed the PPP, that's public-private partnership. In fact, last year, as I moved back, and thanks to IEEE for this opportunity, I will definitely acknowledge Mr. Mohan sir. He gave me the opportunity to say, can you write what it takes for India to be, the future-ready city? I've written an article which is definitely part of the IEEE newsletter last year in 2019 September, and in that I have given every industry vertical what are the different things that they need to look into for India to be that. And in one most important thing that I still call out is we need to have this public-private partnership develop our infrastructure. We have a huge challenge and a gap when it's coming to the infrastructure development. Of course, our government, and I'm very grateful and I'm quite inspired by how today India has literally grown in ranks from where they were to where they are. And thanks to Mr. Narendra Modi. But I still see that we have to expedite a lot of things. And today, of course, if you see the bullet train and so many other infrastructure development is happening, but how do we make the system very efficient? That's everybody has to think through. And let me tell you, those who are listening and all others are the future of this world. So we all have to contribute to the betterment of our economy, the development and everything. It is in our hands to stand up and go ahead and do some work. It's a collective effort. It can't just happen together. And this is what Singapore does. Right from the citizens to the government, the people, the company, everybody is part of this transformation. They believe it is their responsible. That also talks about the attitude. It's culture too. If you take in India and there's some problem, people don't want to face problems. They will say, oh, why should I be involved? It's not my problem. They cannot fight for too long because I'm not saying bureaucracy doesn't exist. I'm not joking. I've worked across US, India, APAC, Europe. Bureaucracy exists everywhere. It's only the relativity. So don't go by feeling, oh, India, nothing can happen. No, today you have to make things happen. So make in India is the next important thing. And today we have the opportunity. Why do we need to import? And one of the things that I learned, one lesson that I would like to call out is in Singapore. Singapore's GDP run literally from their port, the Singapore port, right? Port of Singapore. And that's what the 85% of the GDP is But if you look at, they are also importing everything. Now, one gap they have is they don't produce anything, but they import. And yes, they export electronics. So that's where their strength is. But what we need to do today is we need to become make in India. And that's where we have an advantage, and we have an opportunity to grow India in that capacity. So smart cities can happen when we open up to ourselves, making in India, and you have to bring the experts, whatever different cities you have to evaluate, you have to make it happen. So Singapore did this early on in time, and then slowly they laid the foundation and they built that infrastructure. And once the infrastructure was ready, that is when they came up with the Smart Nation initiative to piece everything together. So what they were trying to achieve is they wanted to be all integrated. So I was part of this very interesting project with Land Transport Authority of Singapore called the Smart Mobility 2030. That's the roadmap. I'm not joking. The kind of thought leadership they brought in was phenomenal. And you know what they're coming up with is everything being connected. It's called connected vehicles, which means the land, air, water, all the entire transport, they were going to make it connected. That was a huge mission, huge vision. It is phenomenal. But and today they are evolving on the journey in small capacities. I'll tell you a very interesting project that I worked on. What they were doing is they were making the ERP. It's called the ERP2, the latest one, which is they're going gantryless. And what we did is at that time, they implemented an onboarding unit within every car, which means now that gives that foundation to make connected vehicles a reality. So it is very nice how they even started in small scales. Nobody takes that leapfrog without testing in small capacities. So they identify the target audience, example, so individual cars, right? So that covers the entire population of Singapore, whoever is owning the car. And then they're making this concept like, which means they will be connected, which they have access. So that was the first step they began. So this way they slowly evolved. And what is the next thing that they're going to do? They have a vision, which is to make autonomous vehicle. So everything, the public transport is going to be driverless cars. So they have already testing, and I was working with which is it's called A-Star. They are the research arm of Singapore government, and Toyota had given them a car to test out how the public transport can be automated. It's autonomous vehicle, and it's driverless, of course. And they already have their MRT system, which is again on autonomous. There's no driver, and at times like it used to freak me out initially, but I felt it's seamless. It's so efficient. It's fantastically programmed. So that is how they are piecing different elements. So do you understand? But if you take India, of course, our first thing is we are second populated country in the world. You can't compare the population we have. And also we have a huge, today if you take globally by 2030 to 2050, India is going to be the #1 populated country in the world with maximum number of millennials. The young population is going to be the maximum. We are at an advantage. We have a huge advantage, which means we have the best of the engineers, best of the talent, best of the skills, best of the resources, everything. But we need to work towards in making India great by looking into different advancements in each of this capacity. See, I gave different examples so that you get an idea as to how Singapore did it and what is that, where did they start and where they have evolved. So the Smart Mobility 2030 was a huge vision. And the next, so they came up with this gantryless ERP. Then they implemented the onboarding unit in every car when an individual who owns. And then they came up with the autonomous vehicle, so going driverless cars. And the testing is still happening. They are not there yet. Yes, of course, they will be deploying, but they have already made the infrastructure available for that model. They are making in small portions. And the next very important thing, they also came up with this, how do you integrate healthcare, the senior citizens? So they're piecing different, if you look at different industry verticals, they're not literally doing it one. And then smart street lighting, again, lighting, where you're also integrating, in a connected world. So each of these different pieces are getting, it's like jigsaw puzzle. So the piecing all of this together. I'm not saying the same model can be applied again in India, but India, we have to still take a different approach. But most important, we all have to focus on the infrastructure requirement. If you don't have an infrastructure, we will still be very backward in our development and growth. No matter we will become an innovation hub, will become an R&D destination, but we're not going to be there. We can't be ahead in the game. And today, this is the opportunity. And the next very important point that I want to make here is that why do we want to import everything? Today, if you look at China, has penetrated literally every country, every business globally. They're the leaders. But how did they get there? If you go and do a little bit assessment, they develop that community, the infrastructure, everything to scale and give the world the volume. That is what they're good at. The only country which can produce in that volume is China. But how did they begin? They did not become that overnight. They also had a plan. They slowly developed that. And today we all need to work towards that. So Make in India, most important. We don't need to import everything. We don't have to consume imported products. Today, India is very good at our arts, culture, tradition, so many different things. We need to get back to that. Early on, many products were manufactured in India locally, and we were consuming everything that was available, which is local market, which is local produce. But today, if you took right from even fruits, everything is coming imported. Why? I don't understand this. So the reason I'm making this point is today, for India to become the future of innovation, we need to also change and transform the way we are looking at life. And very important, today we are also evolving in agri-tech. That's another very big important element of smart cities. Please know that. So technology has to leverage by our farmers. So education to farmers, trying to tell why technology is important. Every single day I read one story, how IT folks today, or everybody is going back to the roots. They're leveraging the knowledge that they have and trying to help agri-tech and coming up with sustainable, ways of doing agriculture, growing, being self-sufficient, growing organic produce, all that. Today, I'm quite impressed. But are we able to address the mass and the volume? No, we are not there yet. And it's like only one story called out somewhere. There are so many different people who are trying to do this, but that still doesn't support the growth of our country and the innovation. And also with these things happening, with this complete global warming going on, there is a huge challenge in the climate. And today, the first individual or somebody, the industry, I would say agriculture is an industry itself. The one that will be affected are the farmers. Why? Because with the climate change, their crops cannot grow if they don't get the rains at the right time. So many different challenges are there. So how do we adapt to a different technology? Hydroponics is very important. If you take Japan, has become a leader in the hydroponics world. So they have advanced in that. So can we also adapt? Today, education is very important. Some of our rural folks are not that tech savvy or not educated, but that is what we have to make it happen. And today, our government is providing all the facility, even at a rural level, that they can get the education, that they can get access to technology, everything. But we are the future. You are the future. You need to work with some of these folks to make it happen. So think through, what should I do? How do I help my country? It cannot be that I want to leave my country and go get a better job, better paying job. Today, I'm not joking. India is already there. Everybody in India gets the same amount of what you can earn, the remunerations globally. We are already getting that level of, equalizing with the global, globally with different countries. But yeah, you might say, oh, the infrastructure is good, I don't have to deal with certain hassles. But we have to change. If we don't transform, then who else will? So that is why I keep saying, be the change you want to see in this world. Just don't sit there and talk. Talking doesn't help. So we have to show it in our work. In whatever way you can contribute, you will have to contribute. And the next very important thing is I'll talk about the technological advancements and challenges. What is it? Today, if you look at AI is advancing at a speed that you can't even imagine. Today, I'll talk about two important developments within AI. One is the AI gun, which is a new algorithm that they have come up with, and it was founded by Ian Goodfellow. when he was just sitting with his friends and they're working on it, and they found, and this was back in 2014, 2016. Now that has really transformed, the unsupervised learning for the for the machine learning. So what is this algorithm doing, right? So it's kind of pitting against each other. One is called the generative and one is called the adversarial. So one is a generator and one is kind of it's kind of directing. So every time the generative network comes, it's between the two neural networks, and they're trying to pit each other. So when one comes and says, okay, this is the image, is this real? The other one says, no, it's fake, 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 till the time it kinds of automatically learns and come up with an image which makes it, the fake image comes to become real, like it appears real to the other one, and then it says, yeah, now this is a real image. Now what does it mean? It means it's able to generate data on its own, and this is a huge transformation. Though it might have certain disadvantages, there are challenges. Like I said, in every advancement there are always going to be challenges, but it is how you can make those challenges, just you can address the challenges through coming up with some solution and evolving so that it can be used for its advantage. Now, this one has paved way in China in a big time. If you look at the world, China is ahead in implementing the facial recognition technologies across the country, and they have leveraged the development and the learning of the AI GAN quite efficiently. So these are some of the breakthroughs that's happening in the technology. Take the next one. It's called OpenAI. So we are in the OPT3 or OPT4, which is coming up, the new one. What does it do? It's like a search, like Google search. So if you say, I need a story about a character, or I have to come up with a new story, it helps you come up with very interesting stories. So today it's disrupting the music industry, it's disrupting the art industry, disrupting the storytelling industries. If I want to come up with a new story, I don't have to think and I don't have to write, or I have to create a story. But if you tell this AI, like, okay, I want this story to be written, it comes up with many versions of the characters and the story. So that is a very interesting development that's happening. So you see there's so many different advancement that's happening within AI, and definitely it has challenges. I'll tell you one of the very fundamental challenge which I want to highlight. That is extremely important, is because the algorithm, whatever is defined by human. So a software engineer, an engineer, data science, somebody who's defining the algorithm, they're programming the algorithm, right? Now, how they think is very different. Now, even a man versus a woman, again, the thought process of how we look at something is very different. So when I am writing the program, or I'm defining that algorithm, I'm defining it from my thought process. And that is one reason why today within the autonomous vehicle, or the driverless driving, there is still a challenge. Reason being, sometimes there is a challenge with the AI recognizing a certain kind of an object. So it's not defined in a way where it can say there is somebody walking on the pavement or there's somebody crossing, but certain objects it recognizes, certain it doesn't. So it also depends on who defines the algorithm. So there's a very interesting challenge that there, and everybody's still trying to research in that capacity, in that space, but we are not there yet. So that is something which we also have to look into. So this is something I wanted to highlight in terms of the technological advancement and challenges. And then next most important point that I want to make today is the sustainability. See, today sustainability is very important. Today, every organization, if you look, they have sustainability goals, whether they want to, say, example, with Rolls-Royce, my own organization, one of the big focus we have is to go zero carbon footprint, carbon neutral. So that's the area we are working. What does it mean? So how do we make help the environment go carbon net neutral? Say Microsoft have a huge heavily invested in doing that. Many others. Why? Because today the entire world, like I said, I touched upon the climate change. It's going to be a big challenge. The next very big challenge is water scarcity. And now that is something we all have to be very careful about. Like, how do we use most important? How do we consume less of energy? How do we go green environment, working in a green environment, a lot of things, right? That's, again, it's all about sustainability. And today, if you take the new model of working, which is hybrid model, we will be able to address that. And I'll tell you how I see. I believe I'm not here to change the world, but I just know one thing which my preceptor has taught: be the change you want to see in the world. Which means I lived in Singapore, though the weather is humid and everything. I'm not used aircon for like the 10 years that I lived there. I've never turned on even once. But that is my contribution to the world in addressing that. I don't want to waste energy. So energy is something, again, you have to save. Let's promote. How do we save? By turning off lights, by going green. So today the people are going to LED, different things. And that is something we all have to be very careful about. Plastics, we have to protect. We have to also be very careful of how much water do we want to use. And that's why in the agriculture I was talking about, how do we have our alternate methods so that we can save water, right? Of course, when saying agriculture, there is one very important element is water. So some crops require a lot of water, some doesn't. But can we use the advanced method today? Of course, yes. That's why I was talking about hydroponics. With hydroponics, you save enough water. That's what there is a huge paper on it. You can check out one of those videos in the World Economic Forums that they've posted, and you will see how Japan has advanced in this innovation. So this is what I mean when we say, how do we innovate? What is the things that we need to take into account? And sustainability plays very important role in all of this. And if you don't focus today, we are going to be in a planet where there's going to be a huge paucity for water, and then there's going to be really a big difficulty in everyone's life across the globe. So we need to address all of this. And most important, let's not harm the environment. Polyester, why do we use so much plastics, the polyester? See, today, one thing that I really like about India is that we are known for our cotton produce, right? Cotton clothes are the best. You take other countries, example, Singapore, they use a lot of polyesters, and polyester is not recyclable and it is harmful for the environment. So why would I want to use something that is harming the environment? So these are the ways that you can sustain, and it has to begin in small ways, but I believe that we can transform when addressed in each of these things. And tomorrow you are the future of this world. You are the future generation that can make significant breakthroughs by adapting some of these adapting some of these methods, or in whatever way you can, and coming up with creatively and innovatively to address all the challenges that I have spoken so far. So with this, I come to the end of the session, and thank you for the opportunity, and I'll be open for the questions.
Thank you, Ms. Rajashree Rao, for your excellent presentation on innovation and what needs to be done in the years to come, and differentiating innovation in various ways. There are a few questions. Maybe some explanatory answers could be better.
Okay.
First thing is, can you give are there any risk associated with innovation?
Okay. Like I said, every advancement, every innovation comes with an underlying challenge, some gaps, because when we are innovating, we're not talking about what is the challenge. And I'll give you this, I'll tell you about the AI gun, right? Now I was talking about, it's a new algorithm. Now, what it does is it's doing an unsupervised learning, but it also has a challenge in the sense it can, if it goes into wrong hands, the same technology can lead into certain security issues, security breach. It could cause certain crime because you can morph a certain image and make it project like that's the person. So that can be used for a wrong purpose, illegal purposes. That is possible, but that is where the challenge, that is where we have to be more careful about how do we ensure that such kind of challenges doesn't come. So what kind of security layer should be? How do you encrypt it? So those are the things which today as a scientist, as technology people who are hands-on working need to look into. So data security privacy plays a very, very important part. Cyber security is extremely critical, and that itself is a vast subject. And if you go into that, it's like an ocean. So today we need to always, that's why I keep telling, think 360 degrees. You can't just think as one aspect. You might be a data scientist expert, but you have to think beyond that. You can't just think, oh, I'm only expert in this, but you have to think, how do I look at the risk factors, then highlighting the risk, and then working with the relevant experts we can mitigate the risks.
Can you explain a little bit about architectural innovation?
Okay, I'm afraid I might not be able to really call out much details in that, but I'll actually give you an example from my own career in terms of that, right? This is back when I was working with IBM. So I was working within the application integration middleware team back then. And that time, the service-oriented architecture was very, it was the fad word. It is how, you kind of make it plug in and plug out a technology. And when you integrate it at an architecture level, you don't have to change the architecture of anything, but you can just plug in and plug out. So that is something we were working. And at that time, there was a very interesting challenge that was called out. When you have to, so every company who we were going to the clients, so I was working majorly with system integrators. So I was working with Cognizant. And at that time, they had a client who's from a healthcare. Now, what they want to do is they already have an architecture and which they didn't want to mess with. So they were saying, can we plug and play and sort of, but at that level innovation, you need to be really expert in saying, how do you not break some of the legacy architecture that's already there, and how do you just fit into the piece? Because see, sometimes you can't do interoperable, the technology cannot be interoperable for whatever reason it might be. So that is the challenge when you have a system which is not interoperable. And that time, so that is where the skill lies in. And now how do I work through now coming up with some innovation within that architectural model, which means it can be a technology that's going to address or penetrate through fixing or plug and play. So people are then, when they understand that this is going to cost them a lot, then they don't want to touch that. So they try to run on the same architecture that's existing, which might not be able to help them in the future advancements. So yes, this is one very this is one of the common challenges that I have faced across the clients.
Okay. How to discover the scope for incremental innovation?
Okay, so that's again, it depends if you're talking that from an individual perspective or at an organizational perspective, right? That again, that element depends. Now, if again the scope for incremental innovation also it happens in three aspects. One is that a product, whatever you're developing, right? It could be a product, technology, or services. Now, in that, increment means depending on what product am I developing. Am I going to do some fixes, or am I going to enhance, or what is that? Again, that all depends again on your company's goals, or what is that they want to give to their clients. That is something you will have to always, go to the drawing board and ask these questions. Not to yourself, to your management, and to the company. And once you understand the objective and why you're doing, for what you're doing, and for who you are doing, then it becomes much easier to define it. And then you'll know what to do and what not to do. The answer will just reveal itself.
Okay. In the current context, can you elaborate what type of innovations can influence education system?
Oh wow, that's a very interesting space, and I love that space. Education is you wouldn't believe the post-pandemic, not even during pandemic and post-pandemic, one industry which is really transforming is education system. Today, I'll take India. I'm not going to talk about the Western world. Western world methods are a little different. India, we have been following a very traditional 200-year-old method of learning and studying. Today, one thing I'd like to highlight, and thanks for bringing this question. It's a very interesting question. We have evolved from trying to be an engineering graduate, PhD, who's getting specialized in certain verticals or certain subjects, to skill-based education. And in fact, I'll give you example of IBM and few other corporates have already invested with universities where they are focusing on skill-based education. They are not interested in you having an engineering degree. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying your engineering degree or a PhD degree is not valuable. No, not at all that. What I'm trying to tell here is that they want you to already have that skill. See, you don't waste time going to an organization and then skill building, right? Yes, you have an understanding about subjects. You've done research. You are specialized in certain areas. You are the master of the subject, but that's not at all enough. What you need to come up with a skill based. So that is why today skill based education is the new norm, and everybody is invested and they're trying to focus on that. If you take Baiju, EdTech, so many different people during this pandemic times, one thing they focused is on skill based education. Every university offered AI training, AI, certification, deep learning, machine learning. It's bombarded. If you don't, Coursera, you name it, MIT, Harvard, Stanford, everybody offered this online education during this phase. So our education system itself is going to transform, and India, we need to do something about it.
Okay. What are the metrics to evaluate innovation?
Oh, I already told the three foundation, the three goals which is required when you want to innovate. One is I need to increase my productivity and efficiency. Number two is reduce cost. And third one is bring value and impact to business. And I'll give you an example of BMW. I visited their manufacturing plant, and this is very interesting. I went through the 2.5 hour of training it's just a process to understand how does automation work in the car manufacturing organization. And I found this was amazing. It is so seamless. They had 1,400 robots which was doing non-stop jobs of fixing those components, and from one like the parts are pushed from one function to the other to the other to the other. It was seamlessly being operated, and there was only very few employees or the workers who were handling segments of that the manufacturing process which required a human intervention or human being there. But there was one very interesting question that I asked myself. So if they have automated all of this process, why are they only manufacturing 1,000 cars in a day? Which means the automation should have helped them manufacture 2,000 cars. So why is that not helped? So that's the question I asked. So this is something you need to look into. How can I, even with automation, why am I not able to do 2,000? So there is certain gap, and that is what the question you need to ask when you're looking at defining this innovation itself.
Can you explain about the role of political or governmental influence in promoting innovation ecosystem in the country?
Okay. See, government definitely plays a very integral and valuable role. So today, if you look at, as I was building the AI innovation strategy, the first thing that I picked up is what is India looking at? India wants to be the next AI innovation hub. The Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, is very much invested in making India, known in the AI world. So if you take NASSCOM, they already have, I'm working with their Center of Excellence, and they are having certain objectives which is aligned to the government's vision. And if you look at one of the areas that they are focusing heavily within AI is agriculture, healthcare, and few others. So yes, government influence is quite strong. And today, I'm proud to say, India, they are getting there. They are making these things mandatory. And if you look at last week or early this week, there was a AI conference in Bangalore where Mr. Narendra Modi was there to see how they could develop and influence the ecosystem very much, so that they are all evolving and advancing towards that innovation destination and making India also the ER&D hub.
How to infuse innovation mindset among the youngsters?
I keep saying this, and this is a big challenge that I face, and I keep telling people about this. You need to, like today, when I'm early on in my session, that one point that I touched was, you have to think innovatively. What is innovation? Innovation doesn't mean idea. I gave you who is an innovator. An innovator is one who who thinks beyond his own lifespans on what he's coming up with. See, whatever that I do, it's not today I'm seeing, oh, I should benefit, or 2 years from now or 5 years from now. No, you have to think ahead of the game, which is 50 years from now. So innovation is not equivalent to success of, which means I'm going to make a $10 billion. No, innovation is not equivalent to money making. So this is a very interesting thing that you need to understand. Every organization makes this mistake. They means innovation means they have a business opportunity. It's not business. And also the mindset, when you say, how do you have this amongst youngsters? See, you people are the future of this world. You need to think innovatively. How do I give back to my country, my society? How do I help, India become great? Make in India. How do I upskill, reskill, work with the different communities to develop our country? That has to be your goal. So innovation is at the roots. It's not about seeing what can I get just for myself. It is for everybody. The goal is that it is a well-being of everyone. It is inclusive and not exclusive.
Has the brain drain impacted Indian innovation?
Yeah, to a certain extent, I would say. But to be very honest, that's what I was telling. Today we have entered an era where I can have any talent from anywhere across. And that's the new normal, which is the virtual reality. So I have access to talent. And today, a lot of people are moving back. And there's so many different stories. I'll tell you, last year I met the gentleman in Gemini. He's championing, he's going and teaching in university. He's back to India. He wants to give back to roots. So a lot of people are coming back because they've understood the grass is always greener on the other side. Yeah, today you can say, oh, India doesn't have infrastructure. We have bureaucracies. Come on. Every country has, lived in Singapore for 10 years. Yeah, I can have good roads, clean weather, but that clean weather also has a different challenge. I'll tell you what, the mosquito which with dengue breeds, the mosquito which causes dengue, the fever, breeds in clean water. So you think clean water doesn't have problems? Of course it has problems. So it's what degree, what level. So you need to be back here to transform our country. So it is first my country. I want to give back to the roots should be your motto.
Okay. Is there any difference in innovation between developed countries and developing countries?
Yes.
Or is it innovation is limited to developed countries?
No, innovation is happening across both developing and developed countries. Now, if you take India is also a developing country, but if you look at the other countries, yeah, they have the infrastructure. See, what we don't have and we lack is infrastructure. And some of the access to some of these, the latest and greatest technologies. But today, I'm telling you, everything is opening up. So this is the right time to be in India, to be ahead the game, and India can become the next innovation hub. Already companies are investing here. An example, if you take some of the corporates I know in the financial services, financial industry, they are already opened up the job market in India. 2021, you will see literally your LinkedIn being bombarded with the opportunity for youngsters to join this company. Because why they're moving they're moving their base to India because India is the next innovation destination in the world.
Actually, the risk-taking capacity of corporates are relatively low. Mainly because they need to meet the expectations of the stakeholders. So innovation, as I was mentioning earlier, it has got some inherent risk. So how to balance that?
No success comes without risk. Everything is a risk factor. Life itself is a risk. Life itself is a race. So what makes you think innovation is not going to be a risk? Everybody has to take risks. See, you know what? You take risks, you experiment and you fail fast. Failure is a must in life. So if you don't understand failure, then you can never succeed. So if you're scared of risk taking, then you're never going to be ahead in the game. So risk taking appetite is the must, and every corporate do understand this thing very well. And especially after pandemic, they have realized this quite a bit.
Is there any typical investment pattern for innovation, R&D? What is the typical amount a company needs to spend, for innovation and earmark for R&D and things like
Honestly, I can't give a ballpark point on that because that again depends on what you're innovating, how much budget you need. And to me, I'll tell you what, I believe in the partnership model. That's because you do through co-funding. That's what I keep championing even in my organization. You don't have to have a capex model. You can do it in an opex model or even collaboration co-funding model. Co-funding model is the future. So you have to come together to leverage the best of what both of you have and minimize the investment itself. And this is the way forward.
So basically, you support this crowdfunding model, is it? Kickstart and other thing, where someone comes with the idea and then they can get the money from public, crowdsourcing the fund. So
no, that model doesn't even exist anymore. It's about, like I call it, about partnership innovation model. You have to co-fund. Like example, I'm a corporate. I'll go and partner with another corporate who have the similar goal, and both of us want to invest to come up with it. First, we want to do, and then we'll think about the money later. That's how we look at it today.
okay. And out of product innovation and service-oriented innovation, which is easier to do?
Tough question, but see, service is something that is easy. But again, there's nothing like a product innovation and service innovation. Yeah, product innovation is a little challenging because what are you innovating and who are you innovating? And that's what I was talking about, right? If you don't have a market, if you don't have that budget, you're always going to be constrained. And then that's why I was talking about collaboration and partnership innovation model through that. Services, it depends. You can better your service. Like I told you today, everybody's talking moving from product to customer experience. So then, which means automatically your product has to be the best because there are too many options available in the market. So if you don't know what exactly you're innovating, whether it's product or service, then it's a challenge. Not necessarily that all products will be bought by people because we are evolved more. So I'll come back to that answer. We are advancing in the services model because it's easy to make money and it's less risk, right? There's a lot of less risk involved there. So definitely people will be more inclined on the service innovation than the product innovation.
Okay. How to empower or motivate the employees to get into innovation in a company?
See, I will take the other way around. You have to motivate yourself. There is nobody from outside who can motivate you. This is something I even talk to my own people, right? My team, I'll tell them, don't expect the company to come and motivate you. Yeah, don't tell me that somebody has to give you. Nobody taught me that I have to be an innovator. It has to be a passion. I want to do this, not just for me, but I have to bring value to the organization. Look, any job, any bring value to yourself. Don't expect somebody to give it from outside. There is nobody who can motivate you to become an innovator. You have to champion it yourself, and that's the culture and attitude we need to have.
That's okay, but some companies like Google and things like that, they were allocating 20% of the time. They can do whatever they want. This type of thing is that type of thing is not existent in Indian companies,
No, not really. Okay, I'll tell you. Today, everybody is trying to say a different program. It's called part of digital academy. So within every organization, they have something called the academy focus. Okay, now you can go and they give you, say, example in Rolls-Royce, we have something called I forgot your time to something, which is basically you give employees a Friday afternoon free to go and do something innovative. They can whatever they want to choose. So they want to learn, they want to build a skill, or they want to even come up with a startup idea and pitch to the company. They are allowed to do so. So yes, every company is championing, that opportunity to innovate. Yes.
So thank you, Ms. Rajashree, for the wonderful explanation for various queries and also making to understand that innovation is the future. So basically, that to sustain, we have to be innovative. So that is the take what we understand from the today's presentation. So thank you. It has been extremely nice of you to give real-time examples based on your experience, between a developed country. Okay, we still call Singapore as a developed country in terms of their investment in various fields and things like that, and compared to India. So it's a good that you could compare the country-wise, how the innovation takes place and the mindset of people and things like that, and including the government, how they promote the innovation, creating infrastructure and so on. So thank you for bringing the comparison between India with another country, and also explaining what we need to do, and then and the role of government. That Narendra Modi's government, they are trying hard to make our country sort of leapfrog in the area of innovation and then the ecosystem. In fact, right now I think we are number 3 in terms of number of startups and creative, innovative companies and so on. And by the year, I think 2030, that's what IT Minister says, that we'll have some 50,000 companies who will be innovation oriented companies and so on. So thank you, and it has been a wonderful presentation. It's a timely presentation to infuse the concept of innovation among our participants. Thank you very much. On behalf of the Computer Society, ACM and IEEE Computer Society, our sincere thanks for your time and effort in presenting this wonderful talk on innovation ecosystem. So once again, our sincere thanks. Thank you very much, Mr.
Mohan sir, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I'll thank you to the IEEE, CSI and ACM really, and to all the audience who joined and making time to listen to me. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. If you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer. And thank you once again for this wonderful opportunity.
So before we close down our today's meeting, we have 2 announcements. One is about the program on 16th. We have a program on intellectual property rights and patents and how to file the patent, guidelines for filing the patent application, so on. And on 21st, we have a program on data analytics and data science, the future and trends in the future of data analytics. So with this, we would like to close our today's program. My thanks to the participants for attending this program, and once again, my thanks to Rajashree for the wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Wishing you all a very happy Diwali in advance.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wish you happy Diwali.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Sure.